Okay.
Yay.
Hi, welcome to Great Goodness. I'm so glad to have you here today. We have Sister Joy Alford as our guest, which I'm so excited about, and I've already got a question. I'm not going to ask it just yet, but it does have to do with the difference between being a poet laureate in a church and a poet laureate in a county, and how you got that program started. But I'm not asking it. I'm just letting you know it's on my mind.
That's our
And
preview, right?
yes, I want to know about this so badly. I think that's fascinating. So, my co-host Karen
Hello.
and Sister Joy
Hi, Karen.
herself, and we, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook right now, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Um, tell us what you're thinking, what you're feeling, if there's something that resonates with you, and if you create something in response to this, then be sure to share that so that we can share it
Mhm.
as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. We don't need to spend any more time on that. Karen, you gonna draw a card for us?
I am. Okay, so we are going to pull a card today from the Herbal Astrology. I'll just show you. That's the box it comes in. This is a hefty, beautiful oracle deck.
Mhm.
And we are not asking any questions of it. We're not seeking any advice. What we like to do is just pull a card from a deck and just look at the artwork on the card and just talk briefly about what inspires us or what it makes us think of. So, this deck today is the Herbal Astrology Oracle. It was designed by Adriana Ayales, and the artwork is by Josephine Clerks. It's published by Hay House. So, Herbal Astrology. And this is what the backs of the cards look like, which I think is absolutely gorgeous.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have shuffled the cards very, very well, but I always have to do an extra one now since the three of us are in the Zoom room. And so here we go. I am pulling a card and I always take a peek at it first, just so I can make sure I show it to you right. So, okay. This is card 54. It's ashwagandha.
Mm.
And the key word here is purpose. And I hope I can get it so it's in focus. How's that look to you guys?
The purpose. Okay.
Mhm. It
Okay.
does. It
Yeah.
looks good.
Ashwagandha.
Okay.
I love that sun and moon in that glass vessel with the roots coming out of the bottom and all the greenery in there. And I don't know if you can see on the sign, Angie. I think are these astrological signs on the side,
They are. They're the zodiac symbol.
the zodiac
Yeah.
signs.
I
I
love
love this
it.
deck too because it's all about herbs and plants, which I know virtually zero about. But I always hope that Angie knows something. And even if she doesn't, I think there's plenty to just kind of glean from how the card makes you feel or what it makes you think about.
I
I'm
think
just
it's
feeling harmony in this. It just looks harmonious to me.
Well, when you talk about purpose for me, purpose is paramount in one's life, and we cannot have purpose without our roots being
mm,
anchored solidly, and it is through the anchor that the fruit is born. So I see all of it as a continuum, and I love the representation there, but purpose is significant, certainly in my life, and the duality of sun and moon and roots and fruit, all of that, it just, it resonates with me.
yeah. It's really interesting to me that it's ashwagandha because I had not thought about ashwagandha in terms of purpose. I know it as I know it as a balancing herb or a calming herb. And although it can throw off your hormones because it can make you have a little too much testosterone if you take it too often, just a side note. And
Oh,
and
okay.
but but I thought that was really interesting that it says purpose with it. But I noticed at the top it's got one of the nodal signs and a moon. And that north node in astrology is about our purpose that we came in. in astrology, there's a belief that there's a soul purpose, or many
Mhm.
really that we each came in with. And so I thought that was really interesting to see that there. Yeah. And I like what you said about the roots,
Yes.
because they also, I guess the other thing in astrology, it is also kind of considered a node as the IC, and it's a really where we come from. And that can be our origin family, but it can
Mm.
be our ancestral family, it can be our spiritual family, it can be the lands we live in, the lands that we are from, family. And I think we find, as we understand that, I think we do find a lot of purpose. I think it does anchor us as we understand
Yeah,
our
and
roots.
I love thinking about the illustration with purpose in mind too, with the roots, like the purpose is to grow, right?
Mm, yeah,
Come from the roots and grow and shine.
yeah. Nice card, Caren.
Oh, nice commentary, y'all. Thank you.
Read that bio because I got to ask my question.
Okay, yes, so we're gonna try to be organized today because this bio, y'all, prepare to be amazed.
Hmm.
Okay, here we go. Joy, Sistah Joy Alford, is the inaugural Poet Laureate of Prince George's County, Maryland. In her current position as that county's Poet Laureate, Emerita, she advocates for poetry in the county and throughout the region, coordinating and presenting poetry readings, workshops, and literary forums to engage local poets and introduce communities and individuals to the art of poetry. She produces programs and events that provide performance opportunities and exposure for poets, while also offering the community opportunities to remain engaged with the arts, particularly the literary arts. Sistah Joy also serves as president of the Ebenezer A&E Church Poetry Ministry, a position she's held since 2003. She served as poet laureate of Ebenezer A&E Church since 2016, and she's the founder of Collective Voices, a community-based activist poetry ensemble known for its messages of social consciousness, inspiration, and empowerment poetry. Sistah Joy has authored 4 collections of poetry. Lord, I'm dancing as fast as I can. From Pain to Empowerment, The Fabric of My Being, This Garden Called Life, and Ordained Work. Since 2005, she's produced and hosted the award winning poetry based cable TV show, Sojourn with Words, which airs on CTV in Prince George's County and Montgomery County and can be viewed globally online, y'all. In 2024, Sister Joy was inducted into the Maryland Senior Citizens Hall of Fame for her volunteerism in support of seniors throughout Maryland. She's a board member of the Washington, D.C. based nonprofit, The Inkwell, a founding charter board member of the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts, Inc., that's CAAPA, y'all, and a lifetime member of Prince George's African American Museum and Cultural Center. And there's this. Sistah Joy's poetry was
Mm.
included among several poetry podcasts that were selected by former Maryland State Poet Laureate Grace Cavalieri from Grace's Library of Congress based series, The Poet and the Poem, for NASA to send to the moon. Yes, some of her poems are on the moon. Y'all, we are so excited to have Sistah Joy in the house with us. Oh, I can't wait to talk to you, hear from you.
Okay, got to
Okay.
ask my question.
Yes.
So, all right, so we have had some other guests mention their church as either a supporter of the arts or I don't know if the platform is the right word, but a place where they are getting to express and being supported by. And then I see this in your bio too, and I'm really interested in that intersection between the church and the arts and how you found that place to have the program. And I want to know all about it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, it was born out of my initially being a member of the education ministry at my church. And as various times of the year, such as National Poetry Month came around, and different celebratory events called for expressions from the ministry, I'm sorry, from the church members. And so they would ask me, well, Sister Joy, we know you're a poet. Can you do some poetry? And then it became, well, Sister Joy, don't you have a poetry group? Could you all do a workshop for us to show our members how they can write poetry? And then it became, well, Sister Joy, there's really a lot of interest in this, and but you're kind of taking over the times that we have for the education ministry. So we think you should establish a poetry ministry independent of the education ministry.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, my daddy was a preacher, and I'm very happy to be recognized for my work as a poet, but I don't know about establishing a ministry in the AME church because AME is very structured. I mean, the hierarchy is serious.
Mm.
And he said, well, listen, if you handle the poetry, we'll handle the administrative side of establishing this new ministry that, frankly, AME churches don't have. This would be, you'd be trailblazing.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, if you're with it, I'm with it. I had seen the interest from both members of the church and members of the community.
Mm.
So when I said I would do it, one of the things that I insisted was that we would be open to member community poets. This
Hmm.
is not something that would be restricted to members of the church. If we're going to serve, and that's for me, that's especially what ministry is about, but frankly, it's what poetry is about. If we're going to
Mm.
serve, then we have to have our doors open. So the church readily agreed that this would be a good way for, frankly, persons to come to the church and also be a part of something that they have an interest in, i.e., poetry. So that's kind of how it was born, and it was fledgling for a while, but now we're on solid ground, and we have a poet component, and we have a vocal musical component within the poetry ministry
Wow.
because,
Wow.
yeah, it just lends itself when you're praising, because that's what we do, and we're praising through poetry. And so we have musicians that come in with the African drums. We have vocals ensemble that praise through music and song. And of course, we have the poetry component, which the poet members are known as the Anointed Pens. And PENS is
Oh,
actually an acronym for Poets Empowered to Nurture Souls. And our musical component members are the Psalmists of Solomon. So
ah,
that's,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So we have gone out, we received requests and gone out to other churches that wanted to know how you establish a poetry ministry. We certainly invite poets from around the DMV to come to our church and be our featured poet for a given celebration, which we have 4 annual primary programs because we're AME. Every February we celebrate Black History Month. And then every April, of course, we celebrate National Poetry Month, one of our big celebrations also. And then every June, we celebrate Juneteenth.
Hmm.
And every October, we celebrate National Arts and Humanities Month. So it's something that we really are finding ways to bring various segments of the community and the church together. And it's been working and since 2003. And I'm still the president. I can't believe I'm still the president. I keep telling them we've got to nurture somebody else to grow into this position. I'm not going to be around forever. 22 years is, but anyway, that's what the poetry ministry, how it was born, and what's
ah.
happening with us even now.
So you mentioned praise. Do you feel like a lot or all of like, are you teaching praise poetry or does it all turn out to be praise or
No,
how does
no,
that?
there's a lot of
Okay.
social consciousness poetry. There's a lot of
Okay.
Mm.
empowerment poetry. There's, frankly, if somebody wants to celebrate a family member's birthday and they invite them to the program, they may do a tribute poem to that person.
Mm,
We are a faith-based ministry, so
Mhm.
we do acknowledge and welcome all who embrace the teachings of Christ.
Mhm.
So, although we've had Muslim visitors, we've had persons that are not faith in any faith, arenas. But the bottom line is, we want to allow free expression,
Mhm.
because that's what poetry is about.
yeah.
What's on the hearts and minds and souls of our members and of our community, and so it is something that there's been an expressed need and desire for this ministry to continue, and we welcome all. We do. We've not had any challenges to the ministry, and we're happy about that. But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
because of the solid foundation, I think we're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Well, the intent would be difficult to argue with. I mean, it'd be difficult to
Right.
challenge. The intent is
And
pure.
that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that we had open doors and
Hmm.
we welcome all. Age is no constraint either. We're frankly trying to get children and young persons
Yeah.
involved. But sometimes perception is everything, and a lot of times people see persons, a certain demographic, and all the members look like that age range, and oh, that's for them. And no,
Hmm.
we'd love to establish a young adult component to the Ebenezer Poetry Ministry.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a youth component to the, but it hasn't happened. But persons of different age groups will come in, and we certainly, welcome them when they participate in the open mic component of
Mm,
our poetry and praise celebrations. And we very often will bring in young adult features, because our program is such that it's always a 2-hour activity, and it's the first component are is members of the ministry presenting poetry. So we allow time slot for 10, we have to limit it to 10 members presenting poems of 2 minutes or less, because it has to be very structured so we don't,
yes.
because poetry,
It
so
can get big.
yeah, so we tell everybody your poems have to be 2 minutes or less, and there's 10 slots for the pens presentation, and then we generally have a musical or a presentation of some sort. And of course, there's prayer, and and we always have food to fellowship, and then we go into the featured poet, and they have a 20-minute slot that they can present whatever they want to present. And if they have books, they can sign and sell their books as well. Um, and we then go into the open mic component, which is
Wow.
that's the really tight time constraint because we have to
Hmm.
be out of the church by 9 o'clock at night.
Right, right.
But I've managed to keep things rolling so far, and we're just looking for new ways and new opportunities to serve. And we know that right now there's a hard press for workshops. So our
Mm,
2026 proposals for the church is going to include at least two workshops during the year.
that is so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. You said twice now about poetry being to serve,
yes,
and I thought that was true and also interesting for you to say. And I wondered, you've also served as poet laureate of Prince William County, as
Prince George's County.
Prince George's County. Okay. And so what is the difference in serving for the county and serving for the church? Is there one?
Um, I'm sure there's a fine line somewhere. I haven't exactly, it's like nailing jello. Um, for me, because poetry is primarily about service and about healing, um,
Mm,
the line of demarcation is not as clear as probably some uh, county officials might want it to be. But the bottom line is, um, we get calls from Well, because yeah, I wear the hat for both the church and the county. And even now, even though I'm Poet Laureate Emerita, I'm still called upon to serve the county. We currently have a vacancy as far as
Oh,
the Poet Laureate had to, what, resigned. I don't know the background, but they asked me to step back in, so I am. But what I do as Ebenezer Poetry Ministry and what I do as Poet Laureate of the county differs only on paper. Uh,
mm,
Mm,
who was invited me to make this presentation? What is the cause of the presentation? I've done conferences where I'm invited as the poet laureate, and they tell me that this is a celebration of, you know, that includes spirituality, and so I'm free to go wherever I want to go. But I try to be responsible, and if I know this is strictly an official county activity, then my poem selection will represent that.
right.
Yeah, because we want to keep the doors open, and that's the
yeah.
bottom line. We don't want anyone to feel that, oh, we made a mistake in making this invitation. So
Mm,
I've never, ever had that problem.
I wouldn't think so. I've heard you read,
yeah.
and I think we should hear you read now because I do
Oh,
think your poetry speaks for itself about being in service. Like you can feel that in what you say and in how you say it.
okay, okay. Well, since we're kind of talking about faith at this point, I'll do this piece that is the title poem for my fourth book, and the poem is titled Ordained Work. Ordained Work. After dreaded possibilities become realities, new strategies must be born. The norm of yesterday won't work, so we learn to lead and lift, embracing the gifts of faith, vision, and integrity, growing, moving as one, finding true power through unity. We must master our weapons of prayer, purpose, and memory. For just as we cannot succumb, we must also not forget. Pressing from the past, we release yesterday and are reborn through prayer, followed by purposeful acts. For as has been said, faith without works is dead. Deed can and must connect us one with the other. Now is our time to lift one another, leading with unbroken spirits, empowered and emboldened by hard learned lessons from hard won victories that cost us greatly.
Mm,
So today we strive relentlessly with passion and tenacity toward goals generations in the making, confident and convicted that the work we do is ordained for such a time as this.
mm,
Oh,
thank you.
yeah.
Now, do you think that all poetry is in service, or does it require an intent to be of service for a poem to serve?
Well, clearly, not all poetry. I mean, you have celebratory poems that are intended to just be fun, and there's no problem with that. There's informational poems that,
Mm,
yeah, they serve the purpose of informing and enlightening. Um, I because I have a personal uh, charge that I've imposed upon myself to serve, then it's important to me that my messages primarily be messages of relevance,
mm,
particularly to my community. Um, but you cannot simply preach to the choir.
Mm,
So I take my messages everywhere, and I present what I feel will be informing and educational and sometimes challenging messages for persons that perhaps had not heard this message this particular way. I don't believe in confrontation for the sake of confrontation, but it is important that that the message be lifted. So there is work to be done, and I don't shy away from that. It's one where, for instance, I'm passionate about educating youth. There's such a dearth of meaningful opportunities for our young persons to learn to think.
Mhm.
If we
Yeah.
can somehow crack that nut, we will be so much farther ahead, because there are so many that are just simply following, and
Mm.
as opposed to learning to lead. Because you see, it's a process. You have to learn to lead. Yes, there are some natural born leaders, but they're far few and in between. But everyone can find their passion, find their area of interest, and develop it, and find a way to make it meaningful to persons beyond themselves.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
prayerfully, we're talking about positive, because there are certainly many that are out there with teaching negative, and teaching
Yeah.
uh, unfortunately messages and lifestyles that are detrimental to not just our young persons, but to many. So
Mm.
that's why I feel that service is necessary. I'm just one, but I'm one of millions who believe in the power of prayer, who believe in the power of faith, who believe that they can make a difference.
Mhm.
I
Mm.
believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that I don't know how you feel about this, but I think that poetry, the reason it can help people become leaders is because it asks you to say what you mean, to
Mm.
uncover, to get down to that word that actually means what you're saying.
Absolutely.
And if we can articulate what we feel, what we stand for, what we believe in, what we want to be about,
Mhm.
Yeah.
then we can lead. And it's also important as a follower because we don't want to just follow anyone. Like, so we have to articulate all of those things, our values, our cores, just the very center of our being in order to know who who we're going to follow if we're going to do that. And so,
Yes, and developing the confidence and the esteem in again in young people to value their own voice,
mhm,
Mhm.
and to have that discerning ear to recognize this is not what I want to do, or yes, this is what I'm talking about. Make those
Mhm.
decisions and become aware and able to discern what path is your path, because there's a lot of opportunities and challenges that are thrust upon these young people. The technology, the IT alone is such that, oh my gosh, they can just be swallowed up.
mhm,
So
Yeah.
I happen to believe that if they develop their own voice, they can
Yeah.
learn to listen to what's in their hearts, and then judge what comes their way as to whether or not this is beneficial or harmful, and possibly helpful, and just recognize the value of that. Because when you're trying to develop integrity and character, if you don't have a sense of self, then
mhm,
you're just going to be looking for the brightest flash that comes your way.
mhm.
And that, unfortunately, is something that too many, uh, not just young people, but too many people will look for
Yeah.
that bright flash.
You just said something too about respecting one's own voice, and I thought about how many of the laureates, um, like an open mic, like providing that place to be heard. So not just the workshop, because that's really important. That's important to cultivate the ability to write. Um, but then to give people a place to share, to be heard,
Yeah.
because even though the computer is such a huge part of our lives now, and there's social media and all that stuff, I don't know how much we really listen to
Hmm.
one another. But when
Yeah,
you hear a poet speak, I mean, ideally, I mean, I think most the audience is listening
yeah,
and
that's
Yeah.
very true, very true. And the programs that I generally put together will certainly be several voices. I sometimes I'll do something where it's just me and a musician, but generally, if I'm presenting a poetry program, unless they've asked me to simply present for 20 minutes or whatever, if I'm pulling it together, I like to pull together, like 4 or 5, even more poets and musicians, and I love putting visual art on the stage so that as many senses as possible are
Yeah.
engaged so that if a person is more drawn to the visual art or to the music or to the poetry, you're reaching more people, connecting more on a visceral level. And to have the opportunity to include an open mic in those programs is always the
Yeah.
benefit. It's not always something that can happen because some host sponsors they want controlled uh, poetry presentations. They want to know that
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not going to be something that flies off the rails. So I'm very selective when I invite poets. I know them. It's not just somebody that I was given a name or somebody who asked if they could be, but that's part of the responsibility of being the poet laureate, of
Hmm.
Hmm.
controlling what it is you're presenting to the community in a responsible way. Um, but also giving those opportunities for the community voice to be heard. That's so
Yeah.
important. And one of the one of the ways when I was officially in the position, Prince George's County has 9 councilmanic districts. So I made a point for each year I would at least do one per program in each of those 9 councilmanic districts. So geographically, I was covered. Additionally, I would include certain programs for youth. I would include certain
Mm.
programs for veterans. I would include certain programs for seniors. These are some of the ways that I try to address and meet the needs of the various demographics of Prince George's County. The one thing I will have to acknowledge that I fell short on, and I hope that it can be addressed going forward, is that Prince George's County has a growing Hispanic population. And
Mm.
we were not successful, even though I reached out on several occasions. And language barriers are real. But
Yeah.
it was, I would reach out to organizations because one of the things that I did early in my tenure was to make a presentation in a primarily Latino community, and I did not realize that the majority of the audience members were Spanish speaking only. And so I'm presenting this poem, and the council member said to me, Sister Joy, I really love that poem. Thank you so much. Um, could we have one of our administrative staff translate it to Spanish? And I was like, yes. Oh my goodness,
Oh,
yes. I
nice.
was so
Yeah.
pleased that she even took, the time to make that request. So the poem was translated to Spanish and was presented to them, written form, because I'm not about to try to try to read Spanish. But I just thought, okay, now this is truly a commitment from that council member
Hmm.
to her
Yeah.
constituency in a way that she was a bridge builder. And,
Hmm.
and that's what we need to see happen more. But that was unfortunately an isolated case. There was one other time when I found out that uh, the library was giving away, there was a sponsor evidently that was giving away free shoes for children on this particular day. Excuse me, I don't remember what it was, but I wrote a poem and I reached out to that council member's office again and I said, is it possible that this children's poem could be translated so that, and I had art on the poem, sneakers of all different colors and sandals, and it was all about free shoes at the library. And it was a short poem, but it was a fun poem, and they did translate it for me. So that was the
Ah,
second time that I was able to and what we
nice.
did was for each, because the shoes were in plastic bags so the kids could see what color tennis shoes or sandals they were, and they were all by size. So each bag, each plastic bag had a rolled up copy of the poem in Spanish.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
So that again, and those kinds of things, they're small things, but I just think that they're significant. And
Yeah.
mhm,
I
they
get
are.
excited when people take the time to support poetry and support their constituency in that way, and especially when
Yeah.
it's children.
So here's another way that you're of service. You that showed so much humility
Mhm.
to share that experience where you said that you felt like you fell a little short there. And I think that's really hard to say for a lot of people, but because you were able to show that, that lets all of us learn from that and grow. And
Yeah.
I just appreciate all the ways that you just seem to naturally find to be of service. We're going to run out of time, but I would need you to, no, I don't need you to, I shouldn't say that. But I would like for you to
Yes.
read another poem.
Okay.
But I also want to hear about how you came to poetry, how you knew you're a poet and that you could be of service through poetry. So those are two
Okay.
requests.
Well, I'll try to keep it short, but as far as how I came to poetry, I was in the eighth grade when Dr. King was assassinated, and my
Oh,
English teacher gave the assignment to all students to write something about how Dr. King's assassination, just write something about Dr. King's assassination, how it affected you, what it means to you, whatever. So I had never written a poem before, but in my writing, as it evolved, it just turned into a poem. And so I decided I'm gonna make it a poem. It's not gonna, not gonna just happen. So I wrote my first poem and I submitted it to my teacher, and it was very out of character because in the eighth grade, I was the last person to ever raise my hand. I mean, I had to cringe to get through an oral book report. And my classmates, when the time came to share the poem, my classmate said, she didn't write this. This is not her. And the teacher also said, this doesn't sound like you, you know.
Ugh.
And
oh my
so
goodness.
the teacher literally contacted my parents and inquired, is this your child's work? Did you see, And my parents confirmed that I had been working on something, and yes, this is something she crafted. And so my teacher then embraced the poem and published it in my school newspaper. So that was my first poem ever,
Mm.
which was published in my
Oh.
school newspaper. But for 20 years, I never wrote again. I never wrote another poem.
Mm.
I was working at the Federal Communications Commission at the time, and 20-year anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. Frankly speaking, the world was asking the question, do you remember what you were doing when Dr. King was assassinated? It was a common question. And
Mhm.
my colleague, Dr. Frances Hicks, uh, she said, when I told her about this poem, she said, well, do you have it? Do you know whatever happened to it? And I told her, I said, yeah, I have the poem. I said, it was published in my school newspaper, but I think I can find it. And when I shared it, she said, oh, well, I wasn't Sister Joy then, I was just Joy. So she said, Joy, you've got to share this with your community newspaper because people need to
Mm.
know that even children were affected by Dr. King's assassination. And
Mhm.
that is what I did. And when I reached out, I sent it and they contacted me and they said, we want to publish the poem. Can you send us a picture? Is it okay if we give you a byline? And so I started getting calls from schools and organizations saying, can you come and talk to our students about Dr. King, and can you come and share some more of your poetry? And
Wow.
and I'm like, well, there's no more poetry, but I'll be
Oh.
happy to come and talk about, Dr. King, and so that was the opening. And when that happened, it's like a light bulb went off and I started paying attention to the world, and
Mm.
everything became a poem. And I would write something and I'd send it to another newspaper and they'd publish it. I'd write something and I'd send it to another magazine and they'd publish it. And then word kind of got around as I was in these poetry circles by then, and they were saying, well, Sister Joy, how are you getting your work published so readily. We're struggling to get works, and I'm saying, well, I just sent it. And I didn't realize the significance of having these rather significant
Mm-hmm.
publications publish my work. And but that was for me validation
Mm-hmm.
and confirmation that I should be writing poetry. And the gate has not shut. It's been ever since. So I'm just blessed that finally that brick upside the head happened, and I realized I'm supposed to be writing poetry.
That might be one of my favorite stories yet
Yeah,
about,
that's good. That's a
yeah.
good one.
So share
Oh,
one.
a poem. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Let's see. I have uh this is I think we're in Native American Heritage Month, are we not? I think we are.
Mm. Well, definitely like Indigenous Peoples Day and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so
Okay,
yeah.
let's see. Do I want to do that one? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, let me find. Here we go. This is more about poetry itself.
Mhm.
And it's titled Voice as Bridge. Voice as Bridge. And I'm fairly confident that you ladies know Grace Cavallari. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yes.
she had invited myself and my group to the Italian embassy to participate in her series called Voice as Bridge. And so this is a two-part, well, maybe I'll just do one part because time is tight, for Voice as a Bridge. Ours is a world on pause where breathing does not come easy. Like morality, reality seems suspended, but then, even in times of interim, pendulums do swing.
Mhm.
Laws of inequality divide and subdue. Lessons of Sankofa have taught us politics over personhood is not new, is no mathematical flaw, and remains the design of the day. So we lift prayers on wings of faith, which carry us through this divisive chaos, holding us captive. Nor are the captors free, for such rigidity is not discerning of identity. Sentry and detainee are equally confined. Erected walls could fall, unsound foundations crumble quickly. With ignorance and arrogance in such abundance, what better commodity to conquer bigotry? So let us turn our attention and our being to building bridges, lifting our song to life with voices that travel over walls at light speed. Breathe deep our sacred breath of word. Let its power be felt and heard by those languishing souls yearning relief. With each exhale, we break tyranny's yoke, inviting and invoking freedom, both in holding cell and sanctuary city, and amidst all the strange sister tongues that sound so hauntingly familiar as they pray while crossing bridges built to connect souls and save humanity.
Mm. Did you say that was part one and there's another
Yes,
part?
is
Do you feel like can you do the
absolutely.
other part?
It's a three-part, but I'll do
Okay.
two.
No,
Okay.
no, do three. Let's do
Oh,
three. I
okay,
think,
okay.
yeah.
Voice as bridge two. Sound, profane or profound, resonates, reverberates throughout our psyche, affecting us, connecting us to choices, influencing our voice, creating our own personal cosmos. Beyond sound, even beyond word. Voice tells our story, uniting or dividing, freeing or confining. Which mode does your soul claim as home?
Mm,
Mhm.
Voice reveals our history, unveils our mystery, testifying through tone, precipitating from perception's cloud, erupting from vaults once shrouded in silence. This is where voice is born. Voice makes us not just hear, but see reality with our third eye, possibility come to life. It is the thread woven from thought, dream, faith, even scheme, exposing that first flicker of truth or deceit that comes when silence is broken. Voice is precious, not to be wasted, used trivially nor hastily, for voice has no undoing. Sound is his sister, thought his master, manifestations made real through immutable utterance of victory or disaster. There is power in the tongue. Once
mm,
released, voice can bind or shatter, but can best be found when bound to love,
mhm,
claiming calm, comfort, connection. This is when voice has power beyond words, speaks loudest of all, not when heard, but felt in hearts. It is then, this is when voice truly becomes bridge.
mm,
And third, voice as bridge. Let me just catch my breath. Voice, that quiet or bold thing that carries hope, determination, and direction, carries with it possibilities of seeing things anew, altering or amplifying views and stances because of words uttered or shuddered. Voice has become the continuum between yesterday and tomorrow, relegating today to but a signpost along the way. Voice illuminates, chronicles, and counsels in chaos and calm, allows our dreams and nightmares to become made manifest, allows us to hear calls from ancestors,
mm,
generations past, even seeds yet born. Voice, that thing that can melt hearts when melodious, yet steal light from midnight stars when perverse minds devise schemes to kill dreams before they see dawn's new day. Through voice, our story is told, our history unfolds, building beyond yesterday's echo, cautioning us to step, to stop, compelling us to begin anew. Will you not hear and heed voices call? Her quiver when fear reveals or attempts to conceal angst, her power when she conquers reticence and doubt, her shouts of fury and conviction for causes for which she holds true, her blazing passion, which each enamored plea or lover's pledge, voices vocabulary is universal? Is she not
Mm,
exquisite in her linguistic excellence? Either lift her, strong and purposeful, stroking hope's brightest flame, or reject her and exist amidst the dying.
mm,
See her glistening even in this glorious hour when she shines, thrives amidst nations from around the world. She is a regal gift, alternately donning her most tattered or most exquisite garb. We embrace and cherish her for all she gives. Voice is our most magnificent bridge.
mm.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
oh my
Uh,
goodness.
And I will say, I wanted to make sure to mention we met on Indigenous Peoples Weekend, and this is Native American Heritage Month,
Oh,
which
Oh,
I think, um,
brings
so
it full
I was,
circle.
yeah, and but I wanted to mention that. I thank you so much for reading that, Sister Joy,
oh,
and it made me think of actually, I think the prompt that we're going to do today as we wind up, because I wanted to say, like, when I hear your poetry, I hear the origin story of you as a poet because your voice is resonant of a speaker, of a person in service like Martin Luther King was. And
Thank
so,
you for that compliment. Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
mm,
Thank you.
um, and so I was listening to you and I thought, oh, I hear that. I, I feel that. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
That's true.
yes.
Yeah,
it all ends up being about purpose, doesn't it?
absolutely.
And the
Absolutely. That's
roots.
why when you brought that up, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm right at home.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it made me think this will be our prompt. We really enjoyed having you. Thank you so much. But
Oh my goodness.
I
I'm
I,
so inspired
I
and
know.
moved. Thank you so much.
You're very
Um,
welcome.
I wondered what happens if so we talk about goodness, like the goodness that people bring into the world through their creative acts. And but I thought how important it is for us to remember the roots of our creativity. Where did that come from? Um, and so I thought today maybe, and I, yeah, and I do think of this as a time of gratitude. Um, we're going into different seasons. So we're in fall, we're going towards the end of fall, we'll be going into winter. And so I was thinking about that and I thought, how about an invitation to revisit the origin of your creative acts of goodness? Where did that start? Where did that come from? Who came before you? Who inspired you? What are your roots in that creativity?
Okay.
And
So my roots are broad. Um, I grew up as a ward of the state. So I did not really know my mother and I met my father when I was a grown woman, almost 30. Um, I went from foster home to institution foster home. So I know that it was but by the grace of God that I'm not a statistic. Um, I have had persons teach me and persons haunt me.
mm,
Uh, my challenge has been that of a survivor, and somewhere along the way, um, faith became central.
mm,
Um, the blessing was that the final foster home that I was in, my father was a Presbyterian minister. Um, my mother was a homemaker in that home, and it was a lot of healing that happened there. Um, as a result of the need from the past journey.
Mm,
My artistry, I believe, comes from my biological mother, who was a visual artist, I
mm,
found later in life. Um, I have family members that are visual artists, and that link is so dear to me because never having known my mother, my art is critical. It's a link that I will not allow to be broken.
mm,
And I was, a poet before I knew of my mother's artistry. But it was such an affirmation, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just so healing to find that. Her family is from Ireland, so
mm,
my Irish side, and then my dad, who is African American, and his mother was Native American and African American. So there's some broad roots there, again. Um, there are many poems that I've written that are healing poems for
mm,
me and for others. And
yeah.
when I see the opportunity to speak to young people, it just goes to my core. So for almost 10 years, I worked with Maryland National Capital Park in planning on a part-time basis with a teen summer camp. And we worked with usually about 30 teens and for a week at a what is it, a 4-H center where they were in cabins and they didn't go home. And when they first got there, they didn't want to be there. And by the time the camp was
Right.
over, they were asking, could the camp be extended? It was just a wonderful experience every year. And it was really when COVID hit, that's when, things I had to stop. But it was such a significant part of my service um, for young people. But there it's just been so many things that have come to me. I almost some things I sought, but I believe in the divine nature of this universe. So if it's supposed to happen, I believe it will, and that doesn't negate the need to seek and serve through conscious effort. But I know that this path that I'm on is just more than just what I know or what I'm about. There's too much that has happened, and
Mm,
by way of poetry, but primarily by way of service.
mm. Thank you, Sister Joy. I love that. And that's the prompt for everyone today to tell your origin story of your creative acts, like to any listeners. Um, and with the authenticity and honesty and vulnerability that Sister Joy shares with, like if we can do that. Yeah.
So
Thank you
many
so much.
I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
so many times persons shroud themselves in secrecy over what they perceive to be a negative experience, but we
Mhm.
all have a story, and we can use it to build us up, or we can use it to lock ourselves away. And we're not meant to be in isolation, and there are so many people that can be healed through the knowing that their story is not one that is so unique. There's not anything that is so great that we need to be held in constriction because of it.
Hmm.
In reality, there are persons waiting to be released from their pain if
Yes.
if we would only. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity. And again, I thank you for allowing me to be your guest here on Great Goodness.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Sister
so
Joy. I'm
much.
gonna stop